Today on the Cooligans, we are discussing the Premier League. It is returned. And we're also talking about the MLS's back tournament and what the players are going to do staying celibate. How are they going to stay celibate for a whole month?
Because they're so virile. Also, we talked to Memo Rodriguez of the Houston Dynamo. We talked to him everything about coming up the ranks, playing his first professional game, all of that. Plus, any decision we make from now on, we're going to go through his mom, okay?
Okay, rules are rules.
Absolutely. That and more today on the Cooligans! Yeah, baby!
All right. Yes.
I don't know why I was trying to go that long. I'm going to die soon.
Okay.
Imagine I just collapsed and you had to do the entire A block yourself.
I think you were, I thought you were seizing there for a second.
You're like, is this a boomerang?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show. We are the Cooligans. My name is Christian Polanco.
I'm Alexis Guerreros.
All right, we are your favorite stand-up comedians that host the funniest soccer show that you have ever seen on television.
Yeah. But is that it, Christian?
It is not exclusively that.
No, because it also happens to be the gulliest.
That's right. And sometimes I have to sit back and think, and I'm like, man, we're the only comedians with a TV show about comedy soccer show. This is crazy.
That's it. And then, first of all, I mean, we're the funniest show about soccer, right? But we're also the only comedians that we know with a show about soccer. So you put those two together, and it's like, then how could you find another one funnier than this?
Exactly. So a lot to discuss, especially the Premier League making its return. And today we have
could have waited a week. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We also have Memo Rodriguez of the Houston Dynamo coming up a little bit later. But let's start with the Premier League, bro. Oh my goodness! Why? Obviously,
honestly, didn't watch, didn't notice. I'm waiting for next week. I think Arsenal coming back against Brighton is nice. It's a nice start.
Yeah. This was not a good starter game for Arsenal. But let's start with the game that opened up. The return of the Premier League, which was
this is just how the Premier League pictured it in their minds. The league's coming back after 100 days. Let's go Aston Villa versus Sheffield United.
Boom. When you want the title card, you know who
I got an idea for an appetizer, folks. I think they're going to love it. Raw kale, no seasoning. Anybody with me? Huh? We're going to make everyone regular.
What a great, euphemism for what Aston Villa and Sheffield United represent. Raw kale and unseasoned food.
Uncooked, unseasoned kale. Just don't even take the rubber band off. Just give it to them.
I know there's gonna be so many Villa and Sheffield United fans.
You said you hungry? This is technically food. Okay.
No, but really a 0-0 draw. Obviously, you would not expect anything outside of that. But really,
there was excitement. There was excitement,
and you love the messiness of the Premier League returning.
And by the way, Christian's not talking about MESSI. There was nothing messy-like happening in this game at all.
Okay, I'm talking about MESSY, bro.
Why, bro? Why'd you do this to us?
Why you doing this, VAR?
Damn, VAR.
Look, Sheffield United we should be upset because there was a clear, when I say clear, very crystal clear goal.
Like a dolphin in a tuna net.
Clear. Okay?
Like a dolphin in a tuna net. We all saw it, bro. We all saw it.
A goal, a ball, it was, I believe, a corner, a cross. I don't remember exactly what happened, but the ball went in. The goalkeeper grabs it. The Villa teammate bumps into the goalkeeper. Ball crosses the line without a doubt.
In the hands of the keeper.
Yeah.
There's no way that it didn't cross the line. Like you can see from every angle. There's ball, hand, a piece of the net, crossbar. The dude is inside, and then he does what I think is really smart. He starts to press the ball up against the goalpost to signify that maybe if they look now, it didn't fully cross the line, right? Because we know the crossbar is an extension of the line. And then if you notice, the other player starts to really hug that post to just also be like, nah, what you talking about?
Nothing to see here.
No, baby, what's that over there? Huh? Yo, there's naked women snuck into the stadium. Look over there, everyone.
There's no fans in here. Isn't this crazy?
Yo, I can hear the fake fan. I can't believe they're allowing that on TV. Y'all should talk about that. Well, don't even focus on what's happening here. No goal was
where's
scored.
the media attention about what's really destroying football?
Damn. Have you seen what the stock market's doing, Brian? How is that possible? Just speak amongst yourselves.
Yeah, and then look, there's Goalline Technology. There's video assistant referee. This shouldn't have been missed.
There's people with eyes. I don't know if you also know that one.
Yes, I've heard of those.
Yeah. Sometimes they use them, you know?
No, so the frustrating thing was that the wrist watch for the referee didn't buzz to signify that there was a goal. So the referee assumed that it was not a goal, which you could understand.
You show up at your house, all your stuff's gone, but you're like, but my Sloman shield didn't go off, so technically I wasn't robbed. I must have just misplaced everything, yo. It's the dumbest. Forget about your wristwatch, my guy.
So I was doing. So obviously so somebody should have said something. VAR should have gone back and clearly looked at it. But I think everybody was relying on goal line technology. I was looking up what could have happened, and I heard that the goal line technology in the first half was not functioning. It just was not working entirely. And
I thought it was because of the way he held the ball that the goal line technology didn't work. Does anyone know how goal line technology works?
Yeah, I do know how it works because
this is why, when people say, how did you and Christian happen to have such a successful podcast? I yell, and Christian does everything else.
Yes, there are cameras and sensors in place that literally have the exact dimensions of where if the ball crosses the line, and as soon as it does, that's why it buzzes on the watch of the referee. So they're sensors that are pointing they're all around the stadium, but they're pointing at each goal, and as soon as the ball crosses, it knows that a goal happened. So because since that wasn't working, the referee just assumed that there was no goal, but the video system referee
VAR is supposed to review every goal.
Saw that. Yes, and clearly the VAR ref is like, well, it didn't buzz, so I guess it didn't go in. That must have been the assumption, because now the referees are relying almost too much on the goal line technology and not their own eyes. Right. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
It's like if your slap chop breaks, you'll be like, I guess I can't cut any of these. You're like, but wait, what about all those knives? No. I slap chop. That's the only way we do it in this house.
I love how there's so many business opportunities. Sloman Shield could be an advertiser for this program. Slap chop.
Two
Alexis
things that traditionally did not work.
Yeah, Alexis could do this merged commercial like, who stole my slap chop? Sloman Shield,
Sloman Shield didn't protect me. I swear we're going to talk about soccer when we get back.
Man like troops, back again. About my blood clot, yang, all of that. Man came on the Cooligans and shut the thing down. Make sure you watch. If you don't, you're ham roll blood.
All right, welcome back to the Cooligans Living Room FC. I hate to talk about this because it hurts so much, but Arsenal's back, and here's my problem. I gave myself such hope. As a good Arsenal fan, I found so many ways where I thought this would work out. Arteta, right? They played Manchester City, lost 3-0, but I was like, wait a minute. Arteta used to manage, right? He was the assistant manager, so he knows.
He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, so clearly we're at least going to play well. And the answer is no. And here's why. Because David Luiz came in what, the 35th minute? 32nd minute?
Very early in the game after an injury to Mustafi, I believe, right?
No. Mustafi was the second injury. The first injury was to Mahdi.
Okay.
So here comes David Luiz. And I even said to you at that moment, how many goals do you think we're going to lose by? Because David Luiz apparently gets a red card every 6 matches. So Homie plays 4 out of every 6 matches and still getting paid quite a bit. I mean, I don't know if I should hate him or idolize him at this point.
No, it was unfortunate for Arsenal, highly fortunate for Everton, because Manchester City
right.
had to win this game so that if Liverpool beats Everton in their return match, then Liverpool will not be able to win the league at Goodison Park. So all, obviously, the reasons to celebrate.
It all worked out the way it was supposed to, you're saying.
The David Luiz red card was, we saw, friend of the show, Troops. Did you see his reaction
Of course
videos?
I did.
Because he was not happy.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens whenever David Luiz comes in a match. It's just like, start to prepare your anger because it's going to happen. Like, I love the 2 jokes I saw is that Arsenal is going to appeal the 1-match ban to see if they can extend it. And Brighton is going to appeal it to see if they could get it to go away so he can play against them. This is part and parcel. I mean, people are asking me, how much longer do you think he has at Arsenal? I think we saw the end of his Arsenal career. I hope, unless it's like as a sub and that's desperately needed.
Yeah, did you see he did give a post-game interview and took full responsibility? He was like, it's not the team's fault. It is definitely my fault for making those mistakes.
He's not a bad person. He's just a bad player at this point in his career. He's not a bad dude.
He's lost a step. Yeah. And I just
actually no. The problem is he stepped on one of the other players. That's the problem. He didn't lose it.
Shout out to the Premier League because I just want to make sure I mention this. All the players were wearing Black Lives Matter. They replaced their names with Black Lives Matter. Really cool.
It's in FIFA. Did you know that?
I did see that. Yeah.
I played with Arsenal the other day, and the backs of the jerseys said Black Lives Matters, which is amazing.
Yeah. Really, really cool. So just an awesome thing to see. The other thing I wanted to get to as well, the MLS is back tournament. We have to talk about the recent article on Yahoo Sports, and I'm going to shout out. It was Doug McIntyre who wrote the article, but this was
he's some people are really covering the things that the fans want to hear about.
Yes, but basically he's kind of reporting on some of the unrest or unhappiness that some of the players have about being stuck in this basically ESPN Disney complex for a month. All right, and one of his concerns that he raised.
Some of the players are saying like, "Yo, I got a wife, she's pregnant, or my girl's pregnant, or I got a family, I've got kids." Doug is like, "What about the other angle?"
He basically asked the question. He says, he's quoting a doctor who's mentioning this, but they're talking about he's like, you're literally taking a bunch of virile athletes and saying you will be celibate for 6 weeks. Now, this is kind of the concern. Now this is a real issue. I mean, MLS Twitter was kind of talking about this. Like, well, all right, well, we got to worry exactly about how horny they are. Also,
I guess we could get them all tested for that as well. What do we got working down there? Here's my thing. This is a great opportunity for sponsorship. Speaking of sponsorships, right? We've talked about a lot. Let's go Fleshlight, baby. Okay? Fleshlight, this is our moment.
Okay, yeah. It'll just be like gift wrap in every player's room when they arrive to their hotel. And we also know that the teams and all the players will not be sharing like hotel rooms. They
all get single solo rooms.
They get the privacy that they need.
No one has to hide behind the curtain while the other player's on the phone with his family FaceTiming.
Okay, you can focus on self-care in the privacy of your own hotel room. So this was one take I did not expect.
No.
When it comes because the NBA players are going to also deal with this. MLB, if they ever even play, that's been discussed. If they all stay in one central location away from their families, and everybody's asking different questions like, how are the players going to be entertained? NBA, they're mentioning having like
comedians,
you know, and have like a comedy.
We'll do it.
Okay, all right.
Just comedy.
Just comedy. I don't know. Look, well, we're not even going to mention. I don't want to arouse any of these athletes.
It's called the MLS's back, not damn. Look at MLS's back. You know what I mean?
Baby got MLS's back.
Damn,
you know what I'm saying?
It ain't called a damn.
Okay. So yeah, we'll try. We'll see how much catcalling from comedians who MLS players really haven't. So yes, speaking of the MLS's back tournament, we're talking to one of those players that will be at the MLS's back.
That's right, Memo Rodriguez of your Houston Dynamo. Right after this. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cooligans. We here, Living Room FC. I mean, this is it. We've been waiting for our guests. Here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk about, we want to talk to players from all around MLS. And one of our favorite things is talking to homegrown players because you get a little bit of a different perspective. You know what I mean?
Okay.
This ain't just some dude who showed up and he's like, where is this? You know, where's America? I'm here to score goals.
We got, these homegrowns are the OGs of MLS, you know?
They've been in a factory. You know what I mean?
They've been in the league since they were babies, okay?
In a crib, there was a contract, a soccer ball, and some TAM just to pick up the spittle. You know what I mean? But this player, absolutely incredible. Really showed out. First thing, great young player for your Houston Dynamo. Ladies and gentlemen, unless you're driving, and I guess in Houston, it's a pickup, right? So pull your pickup over, get your hands off that steering wheel when it's safe to do so, and put them together for the one, the only, Memo Rodriguez, everybody.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's you guys doing?
So far, so good. You know, we're just trying to stay sane, locked in.
Yeah, dude. How are you doing? I know obviously the tournament, the MLS's back tournament is starting soon. When I'll ask a couple things. How are you feeling about that? How is training right now? Because I don't know if every team is back to full training. So what's training like for you now? And then also when you learned of the group and all the news of the tournament, how are you feeling about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, these 2 months, the 2.5 months that we're off, we had to do individual training. Let me tell you, there was a lot of running, and I think it was way harder than preseason, 100%. Especially in this Houston heat, you got 80% humidity, 90 degrees in the morning. It's tough, but it's just getting us prepared for Orlando. And thankfully, last week was our startup of full training, and now we're back into the groove of things, and we're ready for Orlando when the time comes. And obviously, like you said, the group. I think we got the group of death, but it's perfect, great opportunity for us to show that we're capable of competing with those teams.
That's tough. And so everyone listening or watching, we're doing this a week early. So maybe this is already kind of different. Maybe you guys are already in Orlando. But do you think, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation about Orlando's weather and whether that's a bit of sort of an advantage for some of the warm weather teams. You just talked about running around in 90 heat, which two things I know nothing about. I like to do my sweating on the couch primarily. But do you think that running in that intense heat, is that preparing you? I mean, I know some of the games are like in the early, but do you think that that's an advantage for Houston in this group of death?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think when teams come to BBVA, we sometimes have the 2:00 games and we play a Canadian team. It's tough for them. They try to win the game in the first 45 minutes, and if they can, then obviously second half is a little bit tough for them. And we keep pushing because that's just what we're accustomed to in the heat. So I think it'll be a little bit of an advantage, but it's a tournament, it's like World Cup style, so anything can happen during these tournaments.
Jeez, yeah. Those poor Canadian teams, those Huskies that they used to pull their equipment, just sweating on the sidelines in Houston.
So, and if people are not aware of the exact group, it is you guys are in Group F. It is LAFC, LA Galaxy, Houston Dynamo, and the Portland Timbers. This is the playoffs, essentially. This is you're like right in the thick of it. It is, it can feel I can see why it could feel intimidating, or the group of death. But in reality, like this layoff for all the teams, everybody's dealing with the same thing. So it's like trying to figure out who really prepared, who handled the quarantine well, mentally and physically.
For sure. I mean, we have a month usually. What we have in preseason, but during these difficult circumstances, you don't take that 3-month break from everything. So, like you said, it's going to be mentally. You got to be strong, and obviously the 5 subs help, and hopefully them 5 subs, come in and be super subs, because there's going to be guys that are going to be tired, and hopefully whatever team, especially us, take advantage of that.
Yeah, you're like 15 minutes in, you're like, Coach, Tab, baby, use one up. We got 4 more. let me get these quads a break, will you?
Exactly.
Yeah. There is that concern. Do you think that that Southern teams, because of the weather, have a bit of an advantage playing in Orlando?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, 100%. It just depends on how the team's prepared, how they prepared during the quarantine. Because I know even during quarantine, when we didn't have individual training, we had bikes for everybody, but then bike workouts were still intense. Our strength and conditioning coach loves it. He loves that. He feeds off of us and killing us during runs and stuff. But, it's good for us. We have to suffer before we become successful. So I think it's going to be good that we did all this running, and it's going to all work out in Orlando.
That's a real. I just that sentence you just said. You have to suffer before you're successful. It's just so like you can. I could hear soccer coaches telling that to you when they're making you run for like 4 hours straight.
It's like just playing it on your Bluetooth earphones while you're sleeping. This pain is worth it. I promise. Now, for you kind of had a little bit of a different career than a lot of homegrowns. You didn't come right into the first team. You had to go ahead and take a loan to Charleston Battery. Then you went to Rio Grande Valley, RGVFC. It's a lot of letters, all right? Yeah. It's a license plate is what that is. and you had to work your way back up to Houston, and then you had to show out in the Open Cup. Do you look back at sort of how you prepared yourself for that, and how hard you worked to get a first team opportunity with the senior team and all of that? Do you look at that as a sort of something that can inspire you through the MLS's back tournament?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of homegrowns think, even I thought signing my first contract, I was like, first team right away. I need to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
You're like, when does my Bugatti get here?
I'm ready. Just put me in, coach. But, now realizing and growing up and developing a little bit, knew that patience was key for me. When I went to Charleston, I thought I was going to go on loan and I was going to play there. I was like going to be a starter 90 minutes. There's some games that I didn't even dress. And I think it's important to homegrowns to know that, it's a learning process. There's guys that played 10 plus years more than you. And you got to listen to their advice and, take it in. Obviously, I had Vicente Sanchez, I had DeMarcus Beasley. So I had those guys, supporting me and giving me advice, and I really learned. But, like I said, patience was key for me. Even the first 2 years were horrible. Sometimes I question myself, is soccer ready for me? I just went, I played U16, U18, all games, and I think I should play with the first team every game. And, sometimes it doesn't work that way, and patience was key for me. So I want to thank my family for supporting me through all that. So I'm here now, and it's just something I can build up every single day and every year.
Yeah,
we actually got a couple more questions on that, but we'll get to that right after this break.
What's up, everyone? It's your favorite former U.S. men's national team player, Jimmy Conrad, and I got goalie with the Cooligans.
All right, so let's get back to soccer real quick. You guys, Houston Dynamo have a new coach, obviously Tab, the infamous, the legendary Tab Ramos.
Jersey's own.
Tab
Ramos.
What has been? We had a question from one of our fans. The Gully Squad asked, "How has Tab tactically changed your approach?" So you've played under different coaches. I'm forgetting who was was before Tab, but Wilmer Carrera was obviously before him. What has been the approach in kind of seeing, for the Houston Dynamo and playing under these different coaches, what has been especially the biggest difference that Tab has brought?
Yeah, I think that possession-oriented team where we keep the ball for longer periods of the game and, always try to find that opening. Obviously, we got the speedster, Albert Ellis, on the right side. So, we try to swing the ball, side to side and obviously find an opening for him or Mauro that can make runs in behind. But we keep possession most of the time to open up teams. Back then it was, more direct. We had Romeo and Albert, just run.
Yeah. We'll get it to you.
Don't worry. We're going to chip it over the defender. We're going to get it to you. We had those guys, and it worked for a long period of the time, but now it's a mixture of both. And now teams don't know what comes. We can go direct and then, a little bit and then keep the ball, have them run a little bit just to open up that space. So I think the possession part really was something big that he was on. He lets you play free.
Now, for someone like you who plays a little bit more in the middle of the park, what is it that you prefer? Do you like sometimes when you have possession, you have a little bit more time. You have a little bit more time to make those decisions, find those gaps. And even for someone like you who does a really good job of scoring, it gives you an opportunity to make those late runs yourself. What style do you prefer more? What style fits your style of play more?
I would say definitely keeping the ball a little bit more. I mean, obviously I've played for the past 3 years on the left wing, but I always had that freedom to come inside a little bit to bring more numbers. And, I like to combine a lot. So I'm quick with combinations. And obviously when Albert gets the ball, everybody should know that we got to get in the box because he's going to get to the end line and, cross the ball.
He has been, we watch, this is interesting because I believe you're our second Houston Dynamo player. Our first Houston Dynamo player on the show was Tommy McNamara, and we knew him. We're in New York. He was. We met him there.
You may be able to tell he's from New York from his beautiful accent. It sounds like he's got marbles in his mouth like the rest of us.
But the Houston Dynamo are a team, in my opinion, at least from the New York market, that are very underrepresented in the general sort of scope of MLS. I feel like the Houston Dynamo, the players, the fans have a bit of a chip on their shoulder, especially when they play these big teams. What is it? How does it feel to represent that badge for you?
It's everything I dreamed of, playing for my hometown city. Every time I go out there, I can have a bad game, good game, but I want to give that 100% effort every single time. And like you said, obviously sometimes it's underappreciated from our club, from the league, but I think that makes us even a better team, knowing that we can play freely with no pressure, and we can go out there and compete and win games.
Yeah.
When you were young, go ahead.
Go for it, Alexis.
No, I said when you were young, obviously even right around the time that you signed, did you think that playing for the Houston Dynamo was sort of something that was possible? Because I think the percentage of kids that actually get the chance, even in the academy, is slim. And second of all, was that what you were shooting for?
Yeah, I was definitely shooting for that. Just to backtrack a little bit, so whenever I was in club before Dynamo Academy, there was a club called Histonians, and the academy was getting big. So the team had a split. We had 3 academies to pick from in Houston. It was the Texas Rush, Houston Texans, and the Dynamo Academy. And most of my friends from the club were going to go to Texas Rush. And my mom was like, I'm going with them. I'm going to go to Texas Rush.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you're not. You're going to go to Houston. Yeah. And, there were so many arguments with me and her, talking back and forth, arguing, going. So I'm glad that she made the decision and was real strict and say, you're going to go to Houston. It's the only team in Houston that has a professional team and it's going to give you the best chance. So I'm glad she picked that over all the other academies.
What was the argument like? You were like, no, Mom, I want to go play with my friends. Oh, you're holding a chancleta? No, okay. All right. Houston Dynamo Academy it is, Ma.
there was tears from me all the time. I'm going to go play with my friends. Yeah. No, you're not. I don't care how many times you cry. You're going to Houston. Yeah.
Stop getting dehydrated. You're going to pull a muscle in the Houston Dynamo Academy where I'm going to send you because you ain't going to play with your friends. You'll make new friends.
That's amazing. Moms know. Moms always know.
They know. She might have not known all the rules and stuff about soccer. I mean, now she knows, but back then she was learning, but she knew always the right decisions, which was important for me.
She was like, offside, get offside. You're going to Houston. I don't need to know anything.
Mio, I don't like your friends anyway. You're going to Houston.
Yeah, I'm curious about the experience for you as a youth, as a child, going through that system and ending up as a professional. What was at least we hear a lot of the concerns when it comes to American soccer that a lot of Latinos often kind of ignored, or it's too expensive. What was the experience like for you and your family?
Yeah, I think obviously, I mean, we were super low on the financial standpoint, but my mom made it where she was able to provide, and my stepdad was able to provide for me to pursue my career, and I thank him for that. Obviously, I have 3 younger brothers, so my 3 younger brothers, why does Memo get to do this and get to do that? So it was a big sacrifice for my parents and my mom, to leave them with my grandma, but thankfully I'm here and talking to you guys. But it was tough. I mean, obviously driving an hour 15 to practice, hour 15 back, it was rough for me. But I think the Dynamo did a very good job. So in the summers, I would train with the first team. So I think that prepared me a little bit to know what was going to happen if I made it to the first team. I mean, it didn't prepare me saying that I was ready for starting, but it prepared me to know what things were going to come at me. Them guys, I think Brian Ching, Kalen Carr were on the team.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, them guys, the center backs, the defenders, at that time, them guys were heartless. They didn't care who it was.
Yeah.
They're going to come slide tackle you. They're going to come bump you, and it didn't matter. But I think mentally that prepared me well. So whenever I took that step, I was ready for it.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we got more with Memo after this.
All right, we are back with Memo Rodriguez of the Houston Dynamo, and I got another question from Gully Squad as well. And shout out to Ira Jersey, who asked the original question. I forgot to mention his name. This question is from Mike Thomas. He asks, what are your thoughts on playing the 9 a.m. or 10:30 p.m. games? So 10:30 seems reasonable. You can live with that. 9 a.m. What is
that's wild.
What is that like for you when you saw that?
I can't even play FIFA at 9:30.
Oh man, I don't want to have 5 a.m. pregame meals. So
what is that pregame meal? Like, do you have a routine that you have to try to keep? Like, do you eat like chicken saute or something every morning?
I mean, so when we go to away trips, we have pregame meals all together. So I don't know how it's going to be in Orlando, if they're going to bring it to our room, where we're going to have a conference room where everybody can go. But we eat chicken, we eat pasta before pregame. So what are you going to eat at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. when you got to wake up for these 9 a.m. games? It's going to be tough. I don't know our exact schedule, but hopefully all 3 games are at 10 at night.
You're like, give me a shot, will you? I mean, I would imagine. I can't imagine that someone would want to stay up and then play the game, right? You'd have to go to bed at like 6 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. And I would assume that since we got 3 West Coast teams, people aren't going to want to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning to watch the games, I would assume.
Okay, so because of scheduling, they most likely will have you guys later for those home markets.
I mean, that's the plan and what I assume. I mean, who's gonna like the West Coast teams? Are they gonna wake up at 7 a.m. to watch the game?
Could you imagine the neighbor complaints of LAFC fans banging on drums at 5 a.m.? Like, could you guys stop? I would assume for the West Coast teams, y'all would play maybe not even, I guess, the late games, because then that's prime time for them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I have eaten pasta and chicken at 6 a.m., but not to go play a game. That's because we're comedians. We stay up late at night. That's the end of my night.
Yeah, it's mostly out of depression. Really.
Yeah. I'm walking back in the building as everyone's going jogging. Like, what's up, guys? I'm going to bed. Be productive. I'll be sleeping while the sun's out. When you look at this competition being like a group stage and being like a knockout bracket, you primarily built the start of your success on the U.S. Open Cup, which is pretty much every game is a playoff game. So if anyone, I almost trust you most in a situation like this. Do you think that experience will help? Or is it basically like, we'll see when we get there?
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, in the tournament, anything can happen. You see the semi-pro teams or the amateur teams make it pretty far in the Open Cup. Or was it 2 years ago that amateur team played LA Galaxy, I believe, and it took them to overtime. So during these tournaments, anything can happen. I think the first game is going to be the most important one. We're going to have to play every game like a final. I mean, it's the World Cup for us, for everybody. So, everybody's going to be mentally strong and they're going to be fighting every minute.
And you especially in 2019, you had a breakout year. I mean, it was your name was coming up, especially goal of the week, highlights.
He starts his senior career off with a goal of the week, bro. You set the bar too high, my guy.
What was I'm curious, as for someone who has been in the league for a couple years, what changed for you? What was the thing that was like, man, I think I figured this out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it takes you a few games to get in the rhythm. I mean, obviously when I did my debut, it wasn't the best. We were losing 2 or 3-0 in New England, and I go in and thinking as a young kid, I was 19 or 20, I think. I was like, okay, I'm gonna play fast. So I get the ball, and like 5-6 times I get stolen from me. I'm like, oh, this is real. These guys are fast. These guys are fast. And I thought I was controlling the ball fast, ready to pass the ball, and I'm barely controlling. I'm barely looking up, and they're gone already. It's counter.
Yeah.
So I mean, you learn a lot. You learn how to space. Your spacing's better. Obviously, I knew that my strength and my weaknesses. I knew that I had to be sharper and faster mentally. You got to think before the ball gets there and know your pass or you're going to shot. So I kind of figured it out a little bit. I mean, you can only build on from there. But, I want to get better every time and be one of the best players in the league. I mean, that's just the goal of mine.
Now, Tab spent a lot of his career working with younger players. Do you think that helps you, someone at the really sort of beginning of your career, having that guidance from someone like that who coached a lot of people really in the position you were in for the last few years?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also a great opportunity for, the academy kids that train in the summer with us, have that culture, that youth pathway to the first team. And it's going to help all the young kids, being able to have that opportunity as long as they put in the hard work and take advantage of it.
Now, we met Tab Ramos before, and one of the things that sticks out is that he's very stoic, very sort of quiet, a little bit of a thinker. He doesn't use as many words to say what he needs to do, like me. I'm more of a shotgun, you know what I mean? He's more of a sniper, you know what I mean? What's it like to be coached by someone like that? Are you always like, the dude's got a poker face? Are you like, do you hate me? Do you love me? Give me some feedback, man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he sometimes he pulls you aside and you're like, is he going to say anything? Am I going to start the conversation, or he is? No, but he's a straightforward guy. He tells you when he needs to, but like you said, we don't know if he likes us or he hates us, but he's always straightforward with everybody, and everybody knows what he wants. I mean, since the beginning of preseason, the first day, he's like, I'm not here to make playoffs. I'm here to win the whole thing. So that's all I got to say. We haven't made playoffs 2 years, I think. He's like, I'm not even trying to make playoffs. I'm trying to win the whole thing. That's my goal. And, everybody's on that road, and everybody has that mentality that that's what he wants, and everybody's on the same page.
That's awesome.
I'm curious about whenever a younger player is on a squad and then like a legendary coach comes in, obviously, Tab Ramos played in World Cups, U.S. national team legend. What younger players often don't really know the career of a lot of these players, a lot of these coaches. What's that sort of feel like? When Tab signed with Houston, you're like, all right, I guess I gotta go look up these highlights. And what does he know?
First player signed in MLS history. You old dude.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I knew who he was by naming and stuff. I didn't know nothing about highlights. I would ask my older friends or dads, did you see him play? And they're like, oh, yeah, he was real good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, show me. Show me. Don't tell me, show me. And he's like, he got it, And, I just asked players. I mean, obviously, I wasn't even born probably. So I had to ask around, was he good? And, everybody gives me the same thing, that he was a great player.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you ever try to pull out some of his finesse moves just to be like, I've been watching the tape, coach?
I mean, I think maybe I should. Maybe I have a little bit more playing time.
There you go.
When it comes to coach, I saw that move.
Yeah.
I saw that move on video.
I was watching tape of you, Tab. Coach Tab, profe. Yeah. We got more with Memo when we get back after this.
I'm Ashlyn Harris.
And I'm Allie Krieger.
And we're getting
Gully with the Cooligans.
All right, welcome back to the Cooligans. We are here with Memo Rodriguez of Houston Dynamo. And Memo, I wanted to ask about you playing in CONCACAF Champions League, right? We know that the winner of this tournament, the MLS is Back tournament, will get a CONCACAF Champions League spot and $1.1 million. You could do a lot with that. I'm sure they'll give it all to you and nobody else if you guys win. But what was it like playing? You did play against Tigres last year. And what was that like for you? Because I know as a Mexican American, the family must have been like, they must have been stoked. They must have been hyped seeing you get to play against Tigres.
For sure. I mean, I was pretty stoked as well. Some of my family, my cousins are Tigres fans.
Oh, wow.
And, my mom was like, so I grew up also watching Club America. So Club America was my team growing up.
Yeah.
So those are the two best teams in Mexico. So my mom would ask my cousins, who y'all gonna go for, Houston or Tigres? And my mom was like, y'all better go for Houston. And so I had cousins go to the game. It was freezing cold that game in Houston, surprisingly, because I think it was in like February, January. Mm-hmm. But it was a fun experience. Obviously, those guys are top in Mexico, so we always want to compete against the best, and it was a great experience for all of us.
Wait, what's freezing cold to someone from Houston? 50?
Exactly. I'm wearing two sweaters at 50 degrees.
People are insulating their homes.
What sucks about Houston is that you could have 40-degree weather, but the wind's blowing like 50 miles per hour, so it makes it even colder.
Yeah, it's right, because you guys are near the water, so it gets crazy.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
For playing against a team like Tigres, where your cousin's like, look, I'll root for you, but could you trade shirts with everybody and bring that to me?
Yeah, can I get Gignac's jersey if you can?
Yeah. Everybody's walking up to him being like, look, I got like 35 cousins. How many shirts did you bring? I need one for each of them.
Well, I got to see him, Gignac, play in when they played NYCFC, and I never saw him in person, right? I've never been on the pitch with him, but he's a big dude. I mean, you just do not expect such a large man to be that like nimble on the ball. I mean, he's like, when you think of sort of how Zlatan was, right, as far as like on the ball, like why is a big dude like that know how to do that?
Yeah, where'd he get those fancy feet?
Why is he doing this bicycle kick like Ronaldo in the Champions League?
It looks like those Jengas you see at bars, the real big Jengas falling. You're like, no, he's just so big.
So I also want to ask about being Mexican American. We had this conversation with Miguel Ibarra, who's now with the Seattle Sounders, and there is always that like, if I got called up for Mexico, would I go there? Will my family be mad at me if I play for the U.S.? How do you sort of feel about that like dichotomy and that kind of struggle of what to represent?
Yeah, I mean, my family's always said, if you get the opportunity with Mexico, obviously they want to see me with the Mexican national team jersey, but they also understand, I don't know how, but they say wherever you feel it, wherever you get caught up first, or if you get caught up to both, you're gonna have to make that decision. But my parents, my family, everybody wants to see me with the Mexican national team. But obviously it comes down to making a decision if both of them call me, and I got to get there first. But, that's a huge goal of mine. This year I was definitely planning on having a better season than last year and hopefully get called into the U.S. national team or the Mexican national team.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure your family is all wearing like Mexico entry kits, and they're like, you pick whatever you want. If you want to pick America, I get it. I hope you find a new place to celebrate Thanksgiving, but I get it. Christmas is going to suck without you, but you do what you want.
No pressure.
No pressure. Yeah, exactly. No pressure.
Yeah, it is interesting. At least the way, as Latinos, and I think, at least my perspective is, there is something about representing the diversity of what America is that sometimes people do not, for whatever reason, want to accept.
Yeah.
But there is something cool about, like, if I do get called into the U.S., I get to be that representation of, like, yo, the United States is also very Mexican, which is kind of a cool thing too.
Especially if you're from the South, like a lot of the names are in Spanish. It's like it was a part of Mexico at one point. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I want to get to. If national team calls me and they're the only ones, that I'm definitely want to represent me well, and definitely the Latinos also, that they'll get a chance if they work hard and get that opportunity.
Now, if you got called by both, do you know what you would do?
Oh man, it'll be a tough decision I would make. You have my mom with the chanclet. Mexico or USA?
She puts USA and Texas Rush. Mexico, National Academy, and she's like, "Coño, I got to do this again."
Yeah, it would be terrible. It would be horrible if that happened again.
Yeah. It is a real. It is a real struggle. But like, as fans, look, I'm not Mexican, so like when it's U.S. against Mexico, I'm gonna go for U.S. But it's like when the U.S. is not in the World Cup. Yo, I'm Mexican. I don't know what to tell you.
When Mexico's playing any other team, it's lit.
Yeah. When I have friends, that they make the World Cup or the country, they make. Yep, I go for Germany. Yeah, I go for Germany. I go for Germany or France.
That's how it is. You got to pick your secondary, right? All right, we got more Memo. We get back after this.
All right. Thank you again to Memo Rodriguez for joining us. I realize I can't say Rodriguez. I have to say Rodriguez. It's just
Rodriguez doesn't sound right. You know what I mean?
You gotta Rodriguez.
Like when people bring me up to stage, they're like, "How do you pronounce your last name?" I'm like, "I'm not even gonna attempt to have this guy roll their R's." You know what I mean? Just say Guerreros. It's fine. But every once in a while, you'll get like Alexis Guerreros, and I was like, I feel like I'm coming in to play for the Yankees, dog.
So, Memo, do you want to say anything before we sign off and let if there's anything you want to let people know?
Yeah, just quick and easy. Hope that everybody's family is safe and healthy during these tough times, and we have to come together and try to stop this virus as fast and safe as possible, and hopefully everybody's staying home.
All right. And yes, and make sure you guys you watch the Houston Dynamo and Memo at the MLS is Back tournament that's starting in a couple weeks. All right, so let's wrap up the show the way we normally do. So for Memo Rodriguez, my name is Christian Polanco.
I'm Alexis Guerreros, and together what are we? The Cooligans! Yo, thank you so much for watching that content right now. Right now, we're staying at home. Thank you so much for staying at home. In fact, if you subscribe, you can watch all the other content we have right now that we're doing from our living room here on Living Room FC version of the Cooligans.
What a great opportunity to subscribe and watch more videos of us, the Cooligans, on Fubo Sports.
That's right. Hit the subscribe button. You're not doing anything else right now. In fact, what you're doing is listening to us. So if you really love us, you'll do two small things. One, hit the subscribe button. And two, I don't know, maybe give us your credit card number and the last four digits of your social. Nothing crazy.
Two small requests.